Yeah.
So I have a question. The question I wanted to ask pertains to consciousness. There's more scientists who are endeavoring to go public or to contemplate the source of consciousness, given that some believe it's a product or a manifestation of chemical or electrical impulses in the brain, and that others argue that consciousness is something that's separate of the brain. And if you could speak to what Billy or the player or yourself know or experience about the consciousness, where consciousness resides, so to speak.
Yeah, consciousness is depending on the brain, of course, because the brain cells, the electric circuits and everything, this is a requirement, because without the brain you don't have a consciousness. But of course, it's also within the brain you have sender and receiver, where you can impulses from your former existences, from knowledge and wisdom accumulated in former existences as former personalities. These are stored, where you are getting impulses. And these impulses are processed by your consciousness, via subconsciousness, of course. And but this happens in your brain, and then there is also the influences from the psyche, from the feeling center up here, because the psyche is all over your body and outside. It's a fine fluidal, half material energy. This also plays a role, but I cannot tell you exactly. But of course, what is certain is that you need the brain cells and all the gray matter and everything, and the parts in the center of the brain for your consciousness.
The pineal gland plays an important role in consciousness.
Pineal gland, yes. Other glands also. The whole metabolism of the hormones plays a role. Everything. And the pineal gland plays a role in the transformation of fine matter impulses, other exchange, and also in the process of using so-called paranormal abilities. So this will play there a role. Mm-hmm. It's actually the whole body function are steered in the brain. This is also much of what's happening is unconscious, not subconscious, but unconscious. There are different forms of unconscious. It's the stage before it becomes conscious.
Mm-hmm. An example of unconscious would be just a simple example of sleep is one.
An example is, for instance, that your body reacts before you are aware of a danger. Your subconscious has brought information to your unconscious, and the unconsciousness is linked to your vegetative system.
Digestive.
Your body functions with the vegetable. How do you call it? Vegetative nervous system.
The vegetative system.
And so you are already jumping before realizing the danger. This has been triggered by the unconsciousness, because about 1 or 2/10 of a second it reacts before the information comes into your consciousness. It's before there is a kind of a filter where you have reactions, and so that's the reason why people think the feeling comes before the thinking, because they don't know that there is the thought, and then in the unconsciousness stage of the way of the thought to the consciousness, already the feeling is triggered. And this has to do with the false impression, but without any exception, a feeling always is triggered by a thought. This is possible either by the consciousness, but also by unconscious thoughts. To overcome, yeah, by always striving to control one's thinking, by if the phobia comes, then if you're thinking, now it will come again, that you start, if it's possible from the situation where you live, to focus on some neutral thought, evading, not concentrating on the phobia, on the issue, on the issue of the phobia. And it's a process that needs time, and it needs controlling and order and discipline, of course, because you must be strict, and you cannot apply control in one day, and the next day I think I don't have to work today, I leave it. So you have to be disciplined to achieve a real, a good effect. So, yeah.
That would be similar to if you're trying to stop a bad habit too, right?
Bad habits, yes. You can only control with your thinking. You have to realize that you have a bad habit first, and you have to accept it, the reality that you have this bad habit, that you yourself are responsible for this bad habit, and then you can, if you are aware of this, you have to try to find out at which instances or what triggers this bad habit. Are there certain situations that will trigger this bad habit? And then, you have to get the control of it, and then to consciously act counter or in another way then. Now.
Yes, thank you. Moving forward with the human evolution, or the human being forming of evolution, what would the recommendations have to say about someone who is choosing to consider be a vegetarian or a vegan?
Vegan is called in English, without no leather, right. And so, yeah. Of course, based on the understanding of the true understanding of evolution, it's so far it's still necessary that human beings, for their well-being, are eating fruit, vegetable, and meat. That's a requirement. You can exist without meat, but this has an effect on your way of thinking. If you are eating without animal proteins, just the same as you are only eating meat. It also has an effect that's also not healthy. And of course, the aim, or our aim, should be that we can produce artificial meat, so we don't have so many cows with all the damaging effects on the atmosphere. We don't have the Massenhaltung, keeping so many animals in one farm or in a building, crowd farming or something like this, where you have to use antibiotics and all these kinds, and you have to kill so many animals. The goal or an aim should be to produce artificial meat, different kinds of sorts like the Briaren do, so you don't have to kill animals anymore for food. But you still have the necessary vitamins and necessary stuff, and like from the same with the dairy products and everything. And so this is the message behind this is that genetic investigation, genetic research in this field should be supported.
Can I add one more to that? What about dairy product consumption?
Mm-hmm. That's, for instance, butter is one of the healthiest nutrition. If you are not have not problems with digesting milk products, of course. But if you are like in the Western world, the majority of people can easily digest cow milk products, then it's very good. Yogurt, bifidus, all these kinds, and butter.
But again, in moderation, correct?
Yeah, that's true for everything. Moderate, not eating too much meat, not necessary for every day, and fruit and everything, but not in great masses. You should not take drink too much carrot juice, because you can die if you take too much. If you drink too much carrot juice every day, so it's the mass of everything.
So, of all of Billy's writings, what is it that you particularly find interesting?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it very interesting, of course, the contact notes, all this knowledge, but there is so much knowledge you forget many things. But the basic, perhaps it's not reading, it's what I've learned, what's important for me. The basic or the main thought or realization is that each human being is responsible for his or her life, that you cannot never give any blame to another person or to an entity or to a religion or so, but I am the captain, I am the driver of my life. I'm responsible for what I think, because what I think, from this comes the feeling. The feeling also triggers with impulses that I can have other thoughts, that I must rely for my life entirely on myself. And of course also the reality of not only living one life and then playing harp on a cloud, so for all eternity. That's also that I don't have to have fear or angst of dying. These, I would say, these are now spontaneously my most important realizations. And this has helped me very, very greatly. And for me, it's not important if there is thinking about the absolute absolutum and the ur-creation and the seven belts of the universe. Okay, they exist. I cannot go there and look. I have to take it for granted. It makes sense to me in the puzzle of everything. But everyday life That's the important thing for me. Because now, the now, it doesn't give the now. The present does not exist. Actually, it existed the past and the future. Always I'm shaping my own future. That's the point of evolution, and I'm doing this with my thinking. That's the main thing for me. Mm-hmm.